Guess that makes you kind of dangerous, huh?
Whoa, whoa, hey.
Pick it up.
I'm turning myself in.
Tom Dolan is a highly skilled bank robber who has successfully pulled off multiple heists without ever being caught, since he always covers his tracks and leaves no evidence behind. After relocating to a town near Boston, he meets Annie Wilkins, who works at a storage unit facility. Their encounter marks a turning point in his life, and before long, he begins to fall for her. After dating for about a year, Tom asks Annie to move in with him. Though hesitant at first, she agrees. Wanting to leave his criminal past behind and start fresh with Annie, Tom decides to confess his crimes. He calls the FBI office and speaks with Agent Sam Baker, introducing himself as the In-N-Out Bandit, the nickname the press had given him. Tom explains that he wishes to surrender and return all the stolen money in exchange for a lighter prison sentence. When Sam asks why he's doing this, Tom admits he has fallen in love and wants to come clean before taking the next step in his relationship. Sam is skeptical and tells him that many others have falsely claimed to be the In-N-Out Bandit, but agrees to investigate further. After hanging up, Sam shares the case with his friend Agent Myers, then hands the lead over to junior agents John Nivens and Roman Hall, instructing them to check out Tom at his hotel. When John and Hall arrive, Tom repeats his confession, but they remain doubtful since no one has ever found evidence linking him to the robberies. To convince them, Tom explains that he deliberately targeted small-town banks with outdated vault systems. Using his military background as a demolitions expert, he would sneak in through adjacent empty buildings, crawl through air ducts, and blast open the vaults with precision. To prove his claims, Tom gives them the keys to his storage locker, saying the stolen money is there, and offers it as leverage for his deal. The two agents head to the locker and indeed find the cash. However, John suddenly decides to keep it for himself. At first, Hall, who is more morally inclined, refuses to go along with the plan, but John persuades him by arguing that the money could change his family's life. When Hall worries about Tom, John reassures him that no one will believe a word he says without evidence. As they load the money into their car, Annie shows up after noticing them on the security cameras. They quickly introduce themselves as Tom's friends and tell her he sent them to pick up his belongings. Believing their story, Annie leaves without pressing further. Back at Tom's hotel room, John and Hall inform him they found the money. John then pulls a gun on Tom, warning him to stay quiet. But Tom reveals that there was only $3 million in that locker, and he deliberately held back another $6 million as leverage. At that moment, Sam Baker arrives and interrupts. He tries to caution Tom about the agents, but before he can act, John shoots him. A fight breaks out between Tom and John, ending with both crashing through a window. Annie, arriving to visit Tom, witnesses the commotion. Tom quickly gets into her car and tells her they need to escape, insisting the FBI is after him. While chasing them, Hall again expresses his unease with John's reckless actions, but John stays firm on keeping the money. They soon spot Tom's car, only to find it empty. Tom and Annie have hidden in another vehicle nearby. Once safe, Tom confesses everything to Annie, admitting his past robberies and that he always wanted to tell her but lacked the courage. She is upset, accusing him of being a thief and possibly even a killer, but he insists he never killed anyone. Explaining his motivations, Tom shares that his mother died from pneumonia while he was serving in the Marines. His father, broken by grief, lost his job. The company's CEO mishandled funds, denied him his pension, and with no money for legal help, his father eventually took his own life. Tom's first robbery was against that CEO's bank, but over time, he continued robbing simply for the thrill. Now, however, he wants out, for Annie's sake. Meanwhile, Agent Myers begins investigating Baker's murder and vows to bring the killer to justice. Annie then recalls seeing John and Hall earlier at the storage unit, and Tom explains they are dirty agents who killed Baker. He warns that they will frame him, since the FBI won't turn on its own men. Myers later questions John and Hall, who claim Tom killed Baker and fled with a woman. When asked about the storage unit, John lies, saying they found nothing and that Tom had fabricated the story about the money. Realizing the agents won't stop, Tom urges Annie to leave the city and hide in a hotel until everything blows over. Though reluctant, Annie eventually agrees after Tom promises to join her soon. Once alone, Tom begins tracking John's movements, while Myers reports that Tom's fingerprints were found at the hotel. Investigating his records, he learns Tom has a clean past, with no prior criminal charges. He also discovers Annie's identity and orders his team to pursue her. Annie, however, calls Tom to say she didn't leave the city. She returned to work and found surveillance footage showing John and Hall carrying boxes from the storage unit. Alarmed, Tom tells her to get out immediately, but before she can, John arrives. He accuses her of helping Tom and demands the memory card with the footage. Annie resists, and a struggle ensues. Hall, waiting in the car, eventually walks in to find Annie unconscious. John wants to kill her, but Hall intervenes, checking her pulse and lying to John that she's already dead. Forced to leave, John departs with Hall. Shortly afterward, Tom arrives, rushing Annie to the hospital before police can catch him. Tom calls the FBI and demands to speak to John, accusing him of stealing the money and hurting Annie. John denies everything, knowing Myers is listening in. Myers later visits Annie at the hospital and realizes Hall lied about her fate. On the road, a police officer spots Tom and alerts John and Hall, who chase him again. Tom deliberately crashes into their car and escapes, only to be caught by Myers. Convinced Tom killed Baker, Myers beats him, but Tom insists John was the culprit and even hurt Annie because she had evidence. Tom hands over Hall's gun, which he secretly took, and Myers promises to look deeper. Meanwhile, John pressures Hall to kill Annie, but Hall refuses. John prepares to do it himself, only to be interrupted by Myers, who has come to question her. Myers then confronts John, asking why Tom accused him and whether money was involved, but John continues to deny it. Afterward, John threatens Hall, warning him not to turn against him, even threatening his family. Torn by guilt, Hall tries to reassure his wife that he only wanted to provide for their family. That night, Tom confronts Hall at his home. Though Hall fears Tom is there to kill him, Tom makes it clear he isn't a murderer. Acknowledging Hall's hesitation during the crimes, Tom convinces him to help. Hall admits he secretly took the surveillance footage from Annie's pocket and reveals John's plan to kill her. Together, they move Annie to a safe hotel. Later, Tom contacts Myers, explaining he has Annie but assuring she is not part of his robberies. Myers offers support, but Tom insists on handling it himself. As Annie recovers, Tom sets explosives in John's house, calling him to demand a confession. When John refuses, Tom detonates the bomb, destroying the house but leaving John alive. John mocks Tom for failing to kill him, but Tom reveals that wasn't his goal, he only wants the truth. Soon after, John calls Hall to meet, while Annie shows Myers the recovered surveillance footage and leftover cash, proving Tom's story. When Tom and Hall meet John, Tom exposes him, but John shoots Hall and flees with the money. Tom then calls John, telling him there's a pressure-sensitive bomb under his car seat, forcing him to stay put until bomb disposal arrives. Later, Tom retrieves a recorder from Hall's body containing John's confession to killing Baker. The bomb squad rescues John, only to reveal the device was harmless. Myers, however, orders John's arrest after finding the stolen cash and hearing the recording that clears Tom. In the end, Myers meets Annie, and Tom appears, finally turning himself in. He honors his deal, ready to face prison but relieved to have told the truth and started a new chapter with Annie. The end.
Not my best.